This day, 76 years ago, the Red Army liberated Auschwitz concentration camp, and in the decades since, January 27th has served as International Holocaust Remembrance Day. I spoke with Susan Abrams, the CEO of the Illinois Holocaust Museum, and Fritzi Fritzalp, who survived Auschwitz, about the significance of this day and working to ensure the lessons of that period in history are never forgotten. It's an honor and a pleasure to have you both with us. Susan, I'd like to start with you. You've dedicated your life's work to remembering this history. What does today mean to you? What do you think about?
I think about the memory of those who were lost and also honor those who survived the Holocaust by sharing the history and lessons of this horrific time in history. Our museum's mission, Illinois Holocaust Museum's mission, is remember the past, transform the future. So it's all about taking the history and lessons from the Holocaust and applying them to today, inspiring people to be upstanders as opposed to bystanders, using their voices and choices to speak up for what's right and make our world a better place. Working, of course, to that day when never again is a reality for anyone.
Fritzi, you survived Auschwitz. Other family members did not. I'd like you, if you can, and I know it's painful, to take us back to the day you arrived at Auschwitz. You've told the story that there was a prisoner there who told you something that saved your life.
Yes, he did save my life, and I'm sure other children's lives as well. When the train stopped in Auschwitz, the train that brought us Jews to Auschwitz concentration camp, the doors opened, and there were two men that stood in front of the train that were dirty and hungry looking, and we didn't know who they were. Their job was to empty the train, get the bodies off, and get all of us off as fast as they could. Mostly the bodies, the children that died on that train, and my grandfather, who was one of the people that died in that boxcar coming to Auschwitz. One of the men came on, and as he was pushing and pulling us off, he looked at the children and he looked at me and he said, "Remember, you're 15 when you get off." I was not quite 13 and I didn't know what he meant, but I followed his orders. So instead of going with the children, whom I didn't know at the time, but he knew already, most children were going directly to the gas chambers, children under the age of 15. So he saved my life. And I went with adults and I lined up as we were directed with the women rather than going with the children. So my life was saved by this man.
Fritzi, I'm wondering what stays with you even to this day?
What stays with me, especially today, is the cold and the hunger and watching the trains coming and unloading people and watching the gas chambers going day in and day out. So the day for me is a bittersweet day because I survived, as some of us did. But all of those 6 million Jews, simply because they were Jewish, that were killed during the time of the Holocaust, and probably more because they didn't and were not able to count those that were in the cellars and in the fields that were killed. 1.5 million babies, 1.5 million babies, innocent children that were killed during the time of the Holocaust, and of course, many, many others that we also must remember today.
Susan, on that note, there was a survey last year of people under 40. 1 in 10 had never heard the word Holocaust. 63% didn't know that 6 million Jews had been killed, and nearly half of those surveyed couldn't name one concentration camp. This goes to your point and your mission about trying to transform the future. How do you do it?
Well, we work to share the history and lessons through storytelling. And so, and through our work at the museum and far beyond our walls through teacher trainings, through field trips, 70,000 students a year at the museum pre-pandemic, and tens of thousands more beyond our walls. Now that's been flipped, and we're reaching as far away as Croatia, Australia, New Zealand with field trips. So actually, you know, our ability to amplify these stories and this history has grown quite a bit as we have accelerated our move to digital. We also have been a world leader in developing interactive holograms of survivors in association with USC Shoah Foundation, and we're the first in the world to debut them. And that enables folks, today's young people are the last generation which will have the privilege to hear directly from a survivor, and these interactive holograms provide that around the world ultimately and for generations to come. And so we are gathering as much content as we can now to be able to tell these stories the most impactful ways for generations to come. So many things today, but preparing for that world when we have the legacy of Fritzi's stories through her hologram, other tools through virtual reality that will enable millions to be able to walk the hallowed grounds of Auschwitz with Fritzi as she shares her story.
We've all heard the quote about remembering our history, or if we don't, we're condemned to repeat it. Fritzi, the last question goes to you. When you were at Auschwitz in 2019, you asked Cardinal Cupich the question, why? Why did it happen? It almost sounded like you've been trying to find an answer to that question for years. Is there any way for you to get an answer?
Unfortunately, no. I have spoken to clergy, I've spoken to rabbis. I have been seeking all of these many years. I don't understand. What I don't understand more than that is that our neighbors in our own communities, our friends, let us down and did not stand up for us, did not stand up for their neighbors. In fact, they pointed us out and as we were being arrested. So it is beyond me, beyond my mind to understand it. And I think I watched Cardinal struggle with that answer at the time. And I'm not sure that any of us can answer.
Fritzi Fritzl, you have such an important story to tell, and we appreciate you sharing it with us tonight here on NewsNation. Susan Abrams, you're doing important work as well with the Illinois Holocaust Museum. Thank you both for your time.
Thank you.